So you were there the night before, and what was like the reason everyone was together? Or just
it wasn't any particular occasion or anything like that. I would go over to my sister's house a lot, and I just happened to go there that night, not for any real reason, just to go over, see the kids, hang out. And that was the first night that I had ever met any of them. And I don't remember, at that point, I don't remember Becky being there. I remember Rob, Melissa, Wanda, Earl, and little Jimmy. I don't remember anybody else from that household being there that night, other than the 5 of them.
So Larry was not there.
I don't recall Larry being there, but he very well could have been. I don't remember him being there. I don't remember meeting him until after Melissa disappeared.
Okay.
But he could have been there. I don't know. And I don't, like, judging by the pictures, I don't recall seeing him in any picture. And from what I remember, almost everybody was hanging out in the kitchen, so we probably got a glimpse of him in a picture or something. I don't recall him until after Melissa disappeared.
Yeah. Okay. So he went by Earl. Was Wanda's husband?
I was introduced to him as Earl.
Okay.
And then later on, I heard people refer to him, I think, as Rob. Yeah. And then Becky's Rob as Robert.
Yeah. See, that's the only way I'd ever heard of him, was as Rob. So I was like, oh, Earl, huh?
Yeah, I was introduced to him as Earl.
Okay.
And I always called Becky's Rob. I never called him Robert.
Okay.
So, the first, I think, connection that I heard with them both being Rob's was in the interview.
Oh, okay.
I was never introduced to him, as Robert.
Okay. And so what was like how are things going that night? Was there anything out of the ordinary, or
nothing that I could remember that stands out now.
Was there anyone acting differently, or?
I don't even recall the situation. Unless that took place before I got there, I don't even recall the situation about there being more attention being paid, to one child over the other. If I remember correctly, both of the babies were, how it is with little babies, everybody wants to hold them, and they were, everybody was kind of holding them and talking to them, and so I don't recall that. And I can't say there was any argument or anything out of the ordinary that happened that night. It was just people sitting around just having a few drinks, and
so that was your first night meeting Wanda.
The first and only, other than and then the morning.
Did you have a first impression of her when you met her that night?
She didn't really talk she didn't talk very much. So I can't really, I don't even think that I had a conversation with her.
Oh, okay.
Everybody else was it was probably maybe a little too fast paced for her. Thinking back now, since she, is a little bit on the slow side, maybe she just, it was easier to sit there and just kind of absorb instead of really being a active participant of anything.
Yeah.
I don't even remember Earl really saying much that night.
You said they had really thick accents, was that right?
Real southern and, like, fast talking.
Oh, okay. So it made it kind of hard to understand sometimes.
Yeah, and I think Earl, if I remember, I think he was very soft-spoken. So hard to even, talk very low. So when he did talk, it was between the accent and the tone of his voice, it just made it, a little bit, I would say, if any, I probably talked to Alicia, and probably, out of anybody from that house, probably Rob McGuinn more than anybody else that night.
What was your impression of him?
I always thought Rob was a really nice guy. I really couldn't say anything, anything bad about him. I never, he even, when I had Courtney, like I told you, he even came up to the hospital to visit and everything. Becky didn't even come up to the hospital to visit. So, he was always never I can't say he ever gave me, you know, any indication other than the weirdness that I told you about the other thing, like the their sexual preferences. That was the only thing that was could put you in a little bit of an awkward, you know, situation.
Yeah.
But other than that, I couldn't really say anything that, you know, that he ever did anything that would make me think, you know, anything bad of him.
Okay. So what was his, okay, let's go to the morning that you got the knock on the door.
Okay.
You remember what you're doing before?
Sleeping.
You were asleep?
I think everybody in the house was asleep or just waking up.
And then you...
I mean, I was sleeping though, because all the bedrooms were full. I was sleeping on the living room floor. Okay. I don't remember if I answered the door or if it was Alicia. Either Alicia. I don't think Alicia answered the door because, matter of fact, Alicia was staying at my sister's house temporarily because she was having problems at home, and her mom didn't really know where she was staying. Oh. So when that bang on the door happened that morning, they thought it was Alicia's mom looking for Alicia. So it may, you know what, it may have been Linda who answered the door, just so this way she could maybe be the one to say, I don't know, you know, where Alicia's at, to kind of, you know, not cause any problems for Alicia. And I just remember, I mean, it was, you know, like a real pound on the door. I don't think she even had a doorbell. I know it was definitely like pounding on the door. And Wanda was just really, really out of breath. And I think Linda, you know, said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Maybe she may have even said, like, "What are you doing here?" Mm-hmm. And it was kind of hard. I mean, she probably didn't speak very clearly anyway, but being out of breath like she was, it was kind of hard to make out exactly what she was trying to say. Mm-hmm. And I think I could remember her saying, Melissa, she's missing. And my sister Linda said to her, Wanda, what are you talking about? Melissa should be with Becky. Where's Becky? You know, and I think she said, you know, that she was home. Melissa's missing. And something, I believe at that point she said something about somebody took her, they were in a red car. And at some time, you know, between her saying that, I don't know if I called 911 or if Linda called 911. 911 was called. I guess immediately after them being called is when Wanda, Jesse, and Linda headed down to Becky's, I guess, to let her know. Or I think they mainly went there thinking that Wanda didn't even know what she was talking about and that Melissa was going to be there with Becky. Okay. And then once they got there, then, you know, I guess broke the news to Becky. And then from what I understand after that, then there were numerous stories told. You know, it was a different color car. First the guy was black, then it was a white guy, then something about her being sitting down the river on a slanted rock, and she had Melissa on her lap, like patting her or rocking her, and she slid off of her lap and went into the river. That story was told not too long after, because I remember all of the police and everything still being there, and me and Alicia actually decided to, because we knew the river well from growing up there, and we decided to go like look all down the river in all the different areas that we thought, well, there was one place that we referred to as the slanted rock. But there, I mean, this particular rock would have been blocks away from their house. And I don't think the average person wouldn't have found it. So, you know what I mean? If it was, and there's no way, if the river story's true, there's no way that she could have left that house on Lamberton Street, made it all the way to the river, and all the way back to Linda's house, and then all the way back to Becky and Rob's, and it have only taken 8 to 10 minutes. I mean, it wouldn't be possible. I mean, unless somebody drove her to do it. You know, I mean, literally in a car drove her. There's no way walking, even running. There's no way you could have done it in that amount of time.
One thing from the radio interview that Becky did, some people were thinking maybe she went out the back door and met a car and then gave the baby to someone in a car, and then she ran to Linda's house. Do you think that sounds plausible, or was that too short of a run for her to be out of breath?
Yeah, the whole out of breath thing is what... See, I think, in my opinion, I think the time frame is off. I mean, I think she was gone... If she did truthfully take that baby and do something with that baby, whether it be her being in the river, somebody snatching the baby, her giving the baby to somebody, whatever the story may be, there's no way that it all transpired in 10 minutes time or less.
Yeah.
And then you would have to wonder if she did simply go out the back door and hand the baby to somebody and then come to Linda's house, that would still only be like maybe a 3 or a 4 minute walk. If she was running, I mean, you figure, you know how far you can walk in 3 or 4 minutes. If you ran that, the average person is not going to be
out of breath.
That out of breath in that short of a, you know, I mean, then again, was she out of breath because she was so upset, like almost like hyperventilating? That could be too.
Yeah.
You know?
So you guys went down and you searched the river, is that what you're saying?
Well, we kind of walked like all the way like from, say, where the river, and I don't want to say where the river starts, but where the river was closest to where Becky and Rob lived, and we went all the way down probably to like Layler Street. Mm-hmm. Just like all the different areas that we knew, just thinking like, you know, who knows, maybe we'd see like a sock or see, you know, a piece of clothing or,
yeah.
And, you know, it was when you're, I mean, not that you would ever think something like that would happen to you in your life, but like you're 17 years old and you're thinking like, you know, this is, and it happened right in your neighborhood, mm-hmm. You know, so we were just thinking since we just found, you know, if it just happened and she really did do something with her in the river, like you would think you'd see something,
yeah,
you know, or even if she handed the baby to somebody in a car, you know, I mean, the police were there within minutes. I mean, it just, nobody, no neighbor seen anything, no, it just doesn't, none of it, you know what I mean? None of it makes a lot of sense as far as, and then the change of stories, like, you know, the color of the car, why did Wanda come to Linda's house at all? Why would, I mean, I would think if I had somebody's baby and somebody snatched that person's baby, I wouldn't go to some neighbor that I just met to say that the person I live with's baby was kidnapped. Yeah. I would go back to the person's baby that was kidnapped.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's strange to me in itself. Why did she come to Linda's house at all to say this baby's missing?
Yeah. So did you see Becky or Rob's reaction when they found out she was missing, or did you see how they were acting afterwards? What's the first time you saw them after this all happened?
I'm trying to think. Well, Rob wasn't there, of course. He was at work that day. I don't know. I think that they may have been most of the day of her disappearance. I think the two of them may have been back and forth at the police station a good part of that day, if I'm not mistaken. The first time that I guess I could say reaction-wise would probably be that one picture of the two of them standing together in the newspaper. I don't really remember, I can't really remember seeing them that day after Melissa disappeared. Not on that particular day. Yeah, I don't really, I may have seen them that day though, but just so much went on, and it was just, you know, now you're talking over 26 years ago, it's just hard to really remember exactly what. I just remember just a lot of police activity, and then, you know, I mean, I guess I was in my mind, I'm thinking like they're gonna find this baby, like this just happened, you know. And then I remember like the cop took the camera with the film, and we were asking him a few questions, and you know, he basically said the story just keeps changing, the story just keeps changing. And I think at that point he said that they were bringing Becky, you know, I guess into the police station for questioning or whatever. I don't remember. Maybe I do remember seeing Rob come home from work that day, but I can't really remember reaction wise. I don't really remember for sure.
Yeah.
There was just so much chaos and just, you know, a lot of people coming and going. I don't really remember exactly